Have you ever had one job that just felt right, like a real calling, while another one felt like you were just counting the minutes until you could leave? Well, it turns out it's not just about the money or the fancy title. There's actually a science to it, a blueprint for what makes a job truly motivating. And today, we're going to unlock that blueprint together.
So let's just get right to the heart of it. Why is it that some jobs make you feel like you're changing the world, just full of purpose and energy, while others feel completely hollow, like you're just a tiny, forgotten cog in some massive, indifferent machine? What's the difference?
To get a handle on this, let's think about a tale of two jobs. On one hand, you've got the superhero job. It's high impact, it's meaningful, it's empowering. And on the other, you've got the office job. It's repetitive, monotonous, and totally constrained. The really cool part is that the gap between these two isn't some kind of magic. It all comes down to how the job is designed. And that design, it's not just a vague idea. It was actually mapped out perfectly way back in the 1970s by two psychologists, Hackman and Oldham. They called it the job characteristics model, and it's basically our secret blueprint. It breaks down a motivating job into 5 core ingredients. So let's dive into ingredient number 1.
First up, we have skill variety. This one's pretty simple. How many different parts of your brain do you get to use? Is your job asking you to stretch and use a bunch of different skills and talents, or are you pretty much just pressing the same button all day, every day?
I mean, just look at the difference here. Our superhero is juggling multiple powers, they're using strategy, they're doing public relations. That's super high variety. Meanwhile, our office worker is just stamping the same form over and over and over. You can just feel how one of these jobs creates energy, while the other one just sucks it right out of you.
Okay, ingredient number 2 is task identity. This is all about being able to see a project through from start to finish. Do you get to build the entire bookshelf and see the finished product? Or do you just spend your days sanding one single leg, never even knowing what the final thing looks like?
Our hero, they've got perfect task identity. A crisis pops up, and they see it through from the very beginning to the very end. It's a whole, complete mission with a clear outcome. Now contrast that with a job where you only work on one tiny piece of something, totally disconnected from the end result. That's a classic low identity job. Now for a really, really important one, task significance. This asks a very simple but profound question. Does what you do actually matter? Does your work have a real, tangible impact on other people's lives, either in your company or out there in the world? And the difference here could not be more clear. The superhero is literally saving lives. You can't get much more significant than that. But then think about filing paperwork all day long with zero idea of what it's for or who it's helping. One job feels deeply meaningful, the other feels totally pointless. All right, ingredient number 4 is a big one, autonomy. This is all about control. Does your job give you the freedom and the independence to decide how you're going to get your work done? Are you the one in the driver's seat, or is someone else telling you every single turn to make? Our hero has tons of autonomy. They get to decide the best way to deal with a threat. They make the plan. But our office job? It's the exact opposite. You're following a strict script, maybe you even have timed bathroom breaks. That kind of micromanagement is an absolute motivation killer. And that brings us to our 5th and final ingredient, feedback. This is about knowing how you're doing. Are you getting clear, direct information that tells you whether you're being effective or not? Or are you just kind of throwing your work out into the void and hoping for the best? For the superhero, feedback is instant and obvious. A person is saved, a building is still standing. But in a low feedback job, you might send in a report and hear absolutely nothing for months. I mean, how are you supposed to stay motivated if you have no clue if you're even doing a good job? So there you have it, the 5 core ingredients. But here is where it gets really, really cool. Their true power isn't just about having them individually. The real magic happens in how they combine inside our own heads to create these incredibly powerful psychological states. This is how it all clicks together. Those first 3 ingredients we talked about, variety, identity, and significance, they all add up to create this feeling of experienced meaningfulness. Autonomy, that freedom to choose, it gives you a sense of experienced responsibility for what happens. And finally, feedback gives you knowledge of your results. These 3 feelings, these are the true engine of motivation. What's so amazing about this model is that it's so well thought out, you can actually measure a job's power to motivate. Hackman and Oldham even created a formula for it. It's called the Motivating Potential Score, or MPS for short. So here's the formula. You start by taking the average of those first 3 meaningfulness ingredients. But then, and this is so important, you multiply that result by autonomy and by feedback. They're not just add-ons, they are massive amplifiers. And here it is. This is the absolute game changer. Because autonomy and feedback are multipliers in the equation, if your score for either one of them is 0,
The whole thing, your job's entire motivating potential score, drops straight to 0. Just let that sink in for a second. You could have the most meaningful job in the world, but if you have 0 freedom or 0 feedback, the motivation just collapses.
Okay, so of course, this isn't some magic wand you can wave over any job. The model is brilliant, but it does come with a little bit of fine print. It doesn't work exactly the same way for every single person in every single situation.
It really works best when 3 conditions are met. First, you've got to have the skills to actually do the job well. Second, you need to have what they call a high growth needs strength, which is really just a fancy way of saying you have a genuine desire to learn and grow as a person. And third, the basic stuff has to be sorted out. Things like fair pay, job security, not hating your coworkers. If you're worried about making rent, it's pretty hard to feel motivated about self-actualization.
So, after all that, what's the big takeaway here? How do we wrap this all up? Well, this model was a total game changer because for the first time, it gave us a practical how-to guide. Instead of just talking about fuzzy ideas like self-actualization, it provided a concrete blueprint for how you can build those things directly into a job. It was the total opposite of that old, rigid assembly line way of thinking.
And it all comes down to this one elegant but incredibly powerful idea from J. Richard Hackman himself. The best way to motivate people is to build the motivation into the job itself.
And that leaves us with one final and I think really important question for you. Your job isn't this fixed thing that just happens to you. It's a system that you can actually influence and redesign. So thinking about these 5 ingredients, what's one small thing you could do, maybe even starting today, to redesign your job and boost its score?